Hey, Andrea, I was going to tell a murder joke, but I didn't want to kill the mood.
Yes, I knew you were going to come up with a good punny joke.
Of course, we had to start with a pun before we talk about the last episode of the Jane's Mysteries. Too much to lose. This is Eric,
This is Andrea.
and this is Hallmark Mysteries and
And
more.
more.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
Okay, Andrea. So it is just literally rapid fire right now with mysteries going. Not really giving us too much warning. We all of a sudden, we have Hannah Swenson, which we knew was coming, but then kaboom, the two new Aurora Tea Gardens are coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, the Curious Cater, which we knew was coming in October, I really thought it was going to be later and they would somehow work it in, but I guess they had to get it in before Countdown to Christmas. But, kaboom, another Curious Cater. So,
I know I saw the Curious Caterer on Facebook, but I didn't see it, and maybe they have now, but hadn't promoted it on Instagram at all because I put it onto our Instagram page. I screenshotted it off Facebook because I was like, oh. And then I went on the Instagram page and I'm like, it's not there. It's not, like crickets on Curious Caterer over there. So I was like, this must be true. Like they put it somewhere. So it's just interesting to see how like not everything, I mean, you should be able to just post on your Instagram and Facebook and vice versa. They post to each other. Like,
right.
wouldn't you think a system like that would exist for Hallmark? Because I feel like that would make their lives easier. I
I
guess
would
not.
assume like someone like for my job, we have a thing called Cloud Campaign, and it has literally all the social channels, so you can post one thing and it goes across
Yeah.
all. And Hallmark's much bigger than we are, so
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
just pulled it up now on Instagram. And so as of today, like we're recording this on Tuesday night. So 6 hours ago. So they posted this, I don't know what, 2 or 3 days ago on Facebook. So they're very, very behind, kind of syncing everything up. So I feel like there's just maybe some missing some things. I know they've just got a lot going on, obviously, with Hallmark Plus. Plus, the countdown to Christmas is coming, wrapping up the fall movies. There's just a ton of content. So I'm sure they're kind of swamped.
well, I will say after talking to Mary Lou Henner, which was a very interesting interview, especially when she called me lazy. But other than that, how she said that one, and I don't know why she wouldn't tell us which one. I guess she, I don't know, didn't want to put too much in, but how one of these two is like the most exciting one that she's ever done, the most interesting one. So I'm really excited for these new Auroras.
Yeah, me too. And well, I guess we'll save it for the hot takes for Jane, but we'll save that. We'll put a pin in my comment.
But the thing, like, I know you really liked the original series, and obviously I was not the hugest fan of them. I didn't think they were terrible, but I was definitely not a fan of them. But I really do like, I think Skylar is just an excellent, excellent Aurora, and Evan Roderick just nails it as Arthur. So
Well, I
great
like that
casting by
she had
them.
mentioned there were Easter eggs that they're going to drop in there for like people who liked the original one. So now I'm kind of like, shoot, I haven't seen an original Aurora in probably a year or so,
But start
besides
binging,
the one
got
that
two
we
days.
reviewed. I know, I was like, I better start like watching some of these so I can find these Easter eggs because that sounds like that's a really good idea on their part to drop those in there. So that was smart.
And you said the Julian House was your favorite episode of all of them, right?
Yes, I really
Or
liked that one. Is that the one
okay.
that, no, we didn't watch that one, did we?
No, what one
We
did
had the
we do?
people vote and
Right.
then they did not vote for that one. So we did not end up watching that one.
No.
But I'm sure we will at some point. We'll be able to dive into that one.
It would be great if Peter Benson made a little sneak cameo in one of
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Oh, so the other thing she said at the beginning was like when she said, "Oh, have you seen it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't get to see it." So then I complained to Joel. I'm like, "Hey, Joel, Mary Lou said I'm supposed to be seeing these movies ahead of time." So he's like, "All right, remind me next
What?
time, and I'll let you." So I'm
Wow.
hoping I get to
Look
hold.
at
I don't know
you.
what it will be. If it will be just a Muse, I'm expecting to get an advanced thing of one of the Muse movies, so I can see that. I know our friend Georgia got to do that once with a Hannah, and then she just teased me with all the stuff that she knew that I didn't.
Yeah, that's so fun.
So.
I love it.
Okay, well, we ready to talk about what we came to talk about? Too much
Hmm.
to lose.
Here is the breakdown. While preparing for the Children's Hospital Gala, Jane De Silva investigates the disappearance of a journalist who vanished after winning a game show. Partnering with Detective John Cameron, Jane uncovers a dangerous world of blackmail and fraud. Once again, this stars Jodie Sweetin and Stephen Huszar.
Blackmail and
Woohoo!
blackmail and fraud. That must have been the police corruption going on, right?
No comment.
What do you
Oh,
what did you think of this one?
Eric, I am a little disappointed. I will say this one left me the most disappointed in any of my Janes. So, I was very excited to get more of these. This one's going to end at a 2.5. So, the lowest of them. The f- I really didn't want to rewatch this one, if I'm going to be honest. The first time I watched it, I was like barely paying attention. I thought it was really slow. It was boring. I could see they were not tying any of these loose ends up that I wanted them to like smartly place, like here. And even on this one, we could have totally tied it back to the cops. Like we had that dangling carrot with the fraud and the blackmail, and then we just didn't connect dots. There was nothing about her mother. It felt like this one could have easily been like the second movie in the series because it didn't give us anything new per se. Like, and hey, we're going on our second date rather than like, oh, we've already seen them together for three previous movies. So we're to say that they haven't been on a second date since I guess I don't know if we ever saw
Right.
them necessarily go on a date. I mean, just the whole thing, there were some questions there.
Well, I
I will
think
say
I think part of it is so I looked in the writer for all of the other ones, other than the one we just watched, the crazy one, was all by the same person. So I'm wondering if maybe this would have been better, like they would have been better in the opposite orders.
yeah, yeah,
Because you're right, there is no, and we talked about
through
this,
line.
there is no continuity. They're all completely individual. But it did have the same writer, so he knew it wasn't like before we said, "Oh, it's a different writer." He knew that there was a crooked cop. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
back onto your point.
No, that's where, I mean, the premise of this was supposed to be a game show, which, as we discussed before with Monk, that's like one of everyone's favorite Monk episodes with a game show. Anytime you throw a game show, typically that really makes it a lot more fun. It elevates the scripts. I think we've had some game show and other mysteries, and it just makes it as a fun premise. And this one really fell flat. Like they didn't give us enough of the game show to really get invested in it. They had, that one scene that, Jodie was or Jane was watching on TV. Just it wasn't enough to be like, "Ooh, that was punny." They could have
Yeah.
thrown way more puns in there. And they weren't very good, the puns that they did throw in there. And if it's going to be a pun show, like, come on, like we have to be writing a little bit better ones. So for me, again, it felt odd that also kind of my last thing that it really didn't quite go together. Like she's instead of doing jazz music, we're on to banjo playing and
Yeah.
tap dancing. Like that just felt again based on what we've had with the previous three movies. Why are we doing banjo and like tap dancing? Why aren't we in the cool, slinky jazz dresses and back into the club? And instead we're I understand the premise of into that the children's helping the children's hospital, but it
Ye-
just seemed like a weird, go away from what I feel like actually a lot of us really were enjoying was the music. So I was left a little disappointed. Would I want more? I mean, at this point, I could take it or leave it. Like I can feel complete with this. If I never saw another one, I would be okay, especially if they're not going to come back and tidy up these threads. If they decide to come back, I really need them to pull in some of the crooked cops and how her mother, was hit and run, like what happened there. if they're just going to continue to kind of throw random storylines at us with this, I'm just not as invested in this series anymore, which is a bummer.
I
What about
know.
you?
You're going to find this unbelievable, but
See, we got better puns.
I thought this was the second best in the series.
What? Oh
I know you
my.
watched it before me, so I went into it, and I'll say I think it started out like really bad, but then I got into it. As you said, it's a game show. I didn't quite understand because they never really did anything with the game show to understand what the game show really would be
So,
about the
yeah,
puns. You know, you just had
that's a
her
great
rattling
point.
off a few puns. So I really wanted to know what could this game show be, but whatever. But I just thought, I thought I re like had good characters. I enjoyed the characters in it. The her coworker who, hey, I think Irene was the one who got killed, right?
Yep.
Irene said she was going to fix him up with her nephew, so I'm going for it. And boom, right there, body's not even cold yet, and they're dating. But I thought the nephew was a fun character. The They had identical twins, and that's usually a case of just craziness because I, as you know, married to an identical twin, and I know full well they are crazy, insane, homicidal killers at any given moment. But
I hope your wife doesn't listen to these.
of course she doesn't. She's too busy watching ID channel about real killers. Um, but I guess I just thought it was fun character, so I had a good time with it. But one of the things that was interesting too about this was all the other ones have been these cold cases, and this was a fresh one. It
Mm,
was like 2 days old, right?
yeah.
But like I say, where it started out weird was I don't know why the coworker who came, Sophia, that came, why she thought she had to pull this ruse to talk to Jane. Like, why couldn't she
Mm.
just come and say, "Hey, Jane, you do these, cases. I have a really weird thing I want to talk to you about." Instead, I had to pretend like I was going to interview her. And unlike you, I loved the little tap dancing, especially Aunt Sadie. Like when she came out, I thought it was just fun. I thought their costumes were fun. And I don't think like if you think about the Poe one, like I don't really think that's appropriate for a children's hospital thing because that was kind of sexy. So I think that's why you had the little ukulele silly thing going, but I don't know. But I will say I did not think the show had really good pacing, so I can see with you there. Just at certain points, definitely the story, the mystery just kind of dragged along, but I don't know. And the one line in there, Edgar Salmon for being like the pompous game show guy, and then turns out like his ego is so big he had no idea like they were, just pulling him into the thing with his fake show. But I don't need luck, detective. I am Edgar Salmon. I wanna say lines like that to my coworkers and stuff. And then the big thing which you did not mention, we got topless Steven, completely gratuitous because hey, I'm going to be behind this little thing, and then I'm going to take off my shirt, and I'm just going to stand here, and I am going to look all
Chat.
ripped in front of you, and then chat away just so people can enjoy topless Steven.
I mean, I was going to mention that in the romance corner.
Okay. It
Well, what
wasn't
did you give it
romantic. It
then?
was it
What
wasn't
did you give
romantic. It
it?
was gratuitous. It was just
Okay.
like
We'll wait till you hear
whatever.
my take.
All right.
What number did you give it?
Oh, I gave it a 2.5. So I think we're the same right there.
Okay, I love how you were like, this is my second favorite, and you rated it the same as I did.
Well, it's,
All of
you,
that to tell
you
it's
like
the
Jane
same.
more than me, and
Okay.
they were
Okay.
probably all 2.5s. No,
Okay.
actually, the last one I gave the 3 because of just the sheer craziness. I still laugh when I think about that episode. It's just so
Oh
crazy.
my.
But
Well, what about the mystery this time? Like for me, honestly, I was not paying attention the first time enough. I literally was like, who is she going to meet? Like when she put the wire on,
all right.
I was like, who's Sophie? I don't even know who this person is. And then I was like, oh, it's that gal. Was she even in this movie? And then watching it a second time, I'm like, yeah, I clearly, again, as you said with the pacing, I do really poorly if they are slowly paced. I am not a fan of those. And so I was not paying attention.
This
Second
is
time I
where,
did, but
sorry,
first time, oof.
this is where it actually, the commercial breaks may have actually helped to break it
Mm.
up. I don't know, but
Yeah, that was rough for me. So again, I didn't guess the killer just because I I just wasn't paying attention well enough the first time. And then the second time I was kind of watching to be like, okay, could I have picked this up? I'm like, I think if I was actually paying attention, yeah, I could have probably figured out who it was. What about you? Did you know who it was right away?
well, I figured once again, identical twins, too easy. It's got to
Yeah.
be there. And I had low expectations of Jane that I figured, oh, identical twins got to be there. But I will say, as soon as the reporter came on and she was being nosy, like, oh, I am all for her, I knew she was shady. And the only reason why I thought it was going to be the identical twin was just because it wouldn't have made any sense to have it be the identical twin, but I thought they would just dump it for being the identical twin. But like in the back of my mind, I knew it was the reporter just because it was textbook Hallmark murder
Yeah.
thing up there. So yeah. And like I say, I thought it was actually an interesting murder and why they did it and all that.
Yeah.
It just
It made
the pacing,
sense.
yeah, it just had like this way more than the last movie. But it
Yeah.
just, like I said, I do agree, like, and that's why I do have it at 2.5, which, after talking all this good stuff, still was not great because that pacing just ruined it because a little more stuff going on, maybe, I don't know, it could have been good. It like, or, excuse me, it could have been really good. It just wasn't.
This was definitely my least favorite. For the romance for me though, again, I found it just again, I mentioned this in, when I said it initially in the beginning with that second date. But did you find that to be an odd thing that this would be their second date? Or did you
I
think
I
that
I
like
I,
checked out?
I don't know what's going on with their relationship.
Okay. Because it just seemed like, okay, if we're gonna go in this order, like it just seemed out of place. But I thought when he took off his shirt and they were chatting and he went around there and I
I,
thought for me, I was like, oh, this is the most interested I've seen Jodie in Steven. Like that was the most interest of like, oh, okay, I'm kind of interested in him right now.
and then when
Otherwise,
she went
again,
and put her hand on his chest.
you get a lot of friends vibes, I feel like, between the two. But that one you're like, oh, okay, maybe I can see something developing. But that was about it in terms of romance. Like I would be curious to know what order, if they filmed them in this order, because they still kind of together feel like their chemistry wasn't as good as it was in the two movies that aired right before this. Like, so I wonder if this was the second one they filmed. Like it just seems like they were not quite, I don't know, as in sync as they were in the other two movies.
No, I agree. It does seem out of order. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I would totally be happy with them just being friends. But I did like their little flirting banner when they were like yelling at each other. I want to go on, another date with you. I want to go on multiple more dates with you. Like, I thought that was cute, but at the same time, I I'm not getting, they don't have a lot of chemistry
Yeah,
between the two of them.
yeah,
And it's not Steven because I'll go back to Ruby Herring. Him and Taylor love them together. And they weren't really together, but there was like that smolder
yeah,
there. And there's just, I don't know, it just seems more like, oh, we are supposed to be in a relationship or hinting at a relationship, so that's what we're doing. I think they should stay at friends. I thought the best romance wasn't Sophie the good reporter? Or
no,
do I
she
have them
was the
backward? Oh,
killer.
Sophie was okay, then the good reporter. I thought
And
her and nephew
the nephew.
Craig were the better of the couples.
That's funny. Oh, well, what about character? Which was your character corner?
I called it Kiwi the cockatiel,
Ah, oh
which
no.
I have to say,
Oh,
and I know I'm lazy because I look at IMDb, but this was Kiwi's first acting credit, and I'll tell you what, I think Kiwi did a pretty darn good job for being I don't know if Kiwi's a boy or a girl, but being their first movie, Kiwi was really good. I knew that Kiwi was giving the password. I don't know why it took Jodie so long because she was not paying attention to the best the best actor in this entire movie.
Oh no, mine I think is the best actor. We have not mentioned him yet, but I shared it on my Instagram story as soon as he was on screen. I'm like, well, hello, this man needs to be a leading man. His name is Brandon Morgan. He played Zach Gable, aka the coroner in this movie. He was not in it very
I'm
much,
like, wait,
but
who?
let me tell you, I think he might be my new favorite Hallmark star. That little role, I was like, yes, we need to put him in a leading role. And it sounded like the little scene that they had and the banter between him and Stephen Huszar, I was like, okay, like, so in Garage Sale, you know how she has that relationship with the coroner. I'm like, oh, maybe they're going to bring him back as a reoccurring character. Now, if they do that, yes, give me some more Jane. If we are going to have Zach Gable in these as the coroner, I will take some more. If we're not, then put Brandon Morgan in as a leading man for a Hallmark movie because he is just easy on the eyes. He's got gorgeous eyes. I just see star potential in this man.
All right. I will say this is Jane Mysteries. We will never see or hear of him again.
No, you can't tell me this.
It's Jane. That that's what they do. They introduce, there's like the little backstory about, oh, I was
Yeah,
here
that's
on his
true.
first day. They gave a little backstory to
Well,
him.
the evil cop guy that never showed up and never showed up again. Oh,
So there is no way we are ever seeing the coroner again.
that's very disappointing. Well, what do you got for trivia for us?
All right. Sherry Miller, who played the twins,
Okay.
she was a newscaster for Global Television, which is like Canada's NBC or whatever, one of their main networks. And she didn't really get into acting until well into her 30s.
Mm.
I thought she's pretty good. I liked her.
Yeah, and she's been in other movies because
Yeah.
I also looked up her IMDb page. I feel like that's what you do. I mean, like, what else are you gonna do to find like what movies people are in? But I saw that she was in probably can't say that one, S Creek, which I've been rewatching.
You can say
And
it.
well, I don't know if you can. So you know,
I've said much worse.
that show, it's delightful. So now I'm going to be on the lookout for her to come in, and then she's been in some other Hallmark movies as well because I was kind of looking through her page. I'm like, wow.
Wait, has she been in Virgin River since everybody has been in Virgin River?
Ooh, I did not see that off top of my
She looks
scroll,
like a
so
Virgin
maybe not.
River
She
type
totally
character.
does. She was in a few other, I'd have to look at what it was, but she was in a few other, you know, kind of like S Creek. She was in a few other shows like that.
Schitt's Creek. It's the name of the show.
It
It's the
is. I
city.
didn't know if we can say that without getting like
If
a
you if you
rating.
are under the age of 13, please do not listen. There we
Well,
go.
it's too late now. Too late. Well, my
Wait, I
trivia.
have my other
Oh, you have
one.
more? Oh, you
Yes,
have.
one
Oh,
more.
okay.
This is really, really good trivia.
Oh,
Like I should be on a game show.
oh
But
boy.
Jodie and Steven's birthdays are only 5 days apart.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
The
the same.
19th and the 24th of January. So they can probably like, I don't know, film and celebrate their birthday together. Though she is 2 years older, which really makes
Oh,
me happy because you know how I feel
you
about
got the
that way.
reverse.
So,
Okay.
yep.
I did. She was in Good Witch. Your
Wait,
character,
Going
Sherry.
back to Sherry
Yeah.
Miller. Okay.
Sherry Miller was in Good Witch. She was also in Ginny and Georgia. Those were the two that I was like, oh. So in case anyone's watched that, another great Netflix
Good
show.
Witch. We're gonna have to talk about Good Witch at some point.
Well, my trivia, of course, is going to be about this Brandon Morgan character.
Brandon
Because,
Morgan is single. He lives at
whoa, and I just,
2493 Maple. I am going there on Thursday.
no. Um, he's like my Brooke Burns, apparently. So he was actually found love in 2021 in the first season of Bachelor in Paradise, the Canada edition.
Wait, seriously?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, but in case you're wondering, ladies, he is still single because him and Angela Amzuka. I did a little Instagram searching because it wouldn't let me know on the. I was looking on website. I'm like, are they still
Searching is
together?
not the right verb, but go ahead.
Nothing was coming up. So I looked at Angela's page because I didn't have anything on his page. And she was kissing another guy. It was not him. So she has a new guy. So they are no longer together. So that was my research because I'm like, well, what else? I've already given all the Jodie Sweetin trivia that I know. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, let's figure out a little more backstory. So there you go. Bachelor in Paradise. Well, what about Hallmark and Chill, Eric? What do you got for us?
I've got Morning Show Mysteries, Death by Design, which is because it also has the identical twins, though it
Oh,
is a
yeah.
murderer. So, oops, I just ruined it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But it
You
also has
really
Kimberly
spoilers,
Sustad
Eric.
in it. And I will tell you what, I watched what Real Wild, Real West.
Oh yeah. Did you like it as much as me?
Oh my gosh, that you and Jenny were talking about it.
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about. Like whatever
That hat scene?
that
Woo!
cowboy vibe
Woo!
with them. I get the Cowboys, like or whatever. I was like ready to switch teams for 'em. They were great, but Kimberly Sustad, like the whole
She was so good.
first 80% of that movie, steamy. Just like it was just exuding, just I don't know.
She
And
was
I will say
great.
this, all right, ready for hot take. I think because she's never coming back from Hallmark World, I am going to have to officially move
Uh-oh.
over to Kimberly Sustad as my number one. She's on my Mount Rushmore. Sort of there's Brooke Burns, and then I've the actives. I think I have to put Brooke into the sort of the honorary,
Retired.
yeah, and to stay with Kimberly Sustad because I love that woman. She is always good. She is so unbelievably good looking that it is insane, and she can act. She's funny, and with that, she can wear a cowboy hat too.
You and my mom. My mom sent me a text. She's like, "I'm watching the new Hallmark movie. Oh, I don't know the lady's name, but she is my favorite." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you are in good company. Many people love Kimberly Sustad.
Like,
I do
who
too.
does
She was
not? Like,
wonderful.
nobody,
Yeah, she was
maybe
so good.
people don't love her, but
Oh, she's so good.
nobody is like,
So good.
yeah, she's just too good.
Well, we're going to go out west for my recommendation as well. So it's season 5, episode 18 of Murder, She Wrote, called Trevor Hudson's Legacy. Jessica heads to Montana to aid a young friend editing the last manuscript of the late writer, Trevor Hudson. But when murder results, she must weed through the lies of Hudson's scheming family to uncover the truth. I actually don't really remember this one, but when I I searched just to kind of see what came up, I'm like, "Oh, this sounds great. It's not
Wait,
a memorable episode for me, which
Jessica's
this
never been on a
movie."
game show?
Well, okay, again, remember how if I really like an episode of something, I have a tough time pairing it with a movie that I didn't really like. So I
Okay.
figured this episode I can't really remember, so that's a really good one to pair with this movie.
I'm not going to waste my good one on this
Right,
movie.
exactly. That's what I figured. Because I had another one in mind, but I was like, nope, I really like that episode. I'll save that one.
Oh, that's too funny.
So I
I'm
really think
sorry,
these
you're not
through.
episode 7, season 4 worthy. Sorry, Jane.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay, now
Wait,
unfortunately, oh yeah,
can I ask you a quick question going back to
yeah,
our murder she wrote? So it did come up when I talked to Mary Lou Henner about Tom Selleck, who, like I say, Magnum PI is probably my Jessica Fletcher, right? I love Magnum PI. And she was talking about how Tom Selleck was on Taxi with her. Was Tom Selleck ever on,
yes,
because of CBS, right?
yeah.
Oh,
They did the
wait, they were
crossover. You
together. We
watched
saw
the
that.
episode.
No, I haven't watched it, right? We talked about it where it's a crossover. It's
Yeah,
actually Magnum.
yeah.
Okay. I've been
Now
watching
you got to go
so
watch
much
it.
Hallmark with Hallmark Plus. By the way, people, if you're complaining about Hallmark Plus and oh, greedy, 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 there is so much stinking content you cannot keep up. It
I
is
will
a
I will say I think
value.
people are switching over because I've had a few DMs of people saying I finally caved just based on, well, I mean, me sharing some reviews and liking some of the stuff and what other people were sharing. So I do think people were waiting to see what content was out there. So I think that people are starting to be like, yeah, I wanna see some of this.
Okay.
So
All right.
don't get all up in a bunch, Eric.
I'm going to go back, by the way, to Kimberly Slesta because we had not talked about her enough. That
It
movie
has
was
nothing to do
like
with this movie.
so stinking hot. It made Chicken Sisters infidelity tame in me. Like I was like when that happened, I was like, whoa. But I was on a place I've never been with Real West in a Hallmark movie. So it's good. All
I
right.
mean, again,
We,
that opening hat scene for the Real West, that is probably one of the steamiest Hallmark. Like, and again, it was like them just looking at each other and like tipping the hat. It was
it
so
right. It was
oozed chemistry.
pure
Lucas Bryant.
subtle.
Oh my gosh.
And you guys were talking about it because what's his Lucas
Lucas
something
Bryant.
Brian, like you guys were talking about, oh, he's so hot in this movie. I'm like, seriously, the guy is wallpaper. I don't know how he's a leading man, but that scene, you're right. Like it was just the way the two of them, we've talked about before, the acting without words, just the looks and like, yeah. We could do a whole review on that one,
So,
but we shouldn't. We should get back to the fan corner. What did people say to you?
well, actually, it's probably good that we were taking our time because I just put out the serve. I totally forgot that we were gonna well, we moved this up. Usually we record Wednesdays. But this is a very like, and I'm talking only a 2 hour poll right now. So these numbers might shift. So early poll results.
You should put this in
We
the
have
calendar you brag about.
0% at 5 out of 5, 33% at 4 out of 5, 50% at 3 out of 5, and then 17% at 1/2.
Yeah.
So
Like I say, it was
it's falling
okay.
more bottomish barrel, but again, I'm assuming these numbers will shift throughout the evening. So
All right, why don't we share it then on the Instagram results when we
okay,
get it to give a little
tomorrow
more
night. Yeah,
thing.
I usually do the 24 hours.
So
So we have like a huge week again next week with all of the new content dropping.
huge 2 weeks.
Yes. So we have a new Aurora coming out on Hallmark Plus. So we're going to review that. I think on Monday we're going to release that one. We did a a Christmas preview with Jenny. And so Jenny joined us 2 years ago when we did this on YouTube. And this is before the podcast. And so we had her come back on. So that is going to be released
And
on
who is
Wednesday.
Jenny? Who's Jenny?
She was the chief Hallmark fan officer of the year last year.
Hallmark Jenny blog, I think is her Instagram. Yeah,
Yes.
but the chief fan, she was in the Love on the Danube movies and
Yes.
all that. So
Yeah. And then we'll finish up our week with the new Hannah Swenson, A Sprinkle of Deceit. So on Friday. Quite a week.
which are
And
you
then the
looking
same
more
thing.
forward to? Hannah or Aurora?
Ooh. Ooh. I'm gonna say, gosh, I would Hannah. I think off just top, just because I'm very, you're familiar. It's like the old familiar sweater where you're like, yay. And then you're like, do I want to wear the new sweater? It could be a little itchy. What if it doesn't fit as nice as Hannah?
You got Victor now too.
I know. So I'm gonna do Hannah, but I'm excited for Aurora as well. What about you?
I think I'm a little more excited for Aurora for
Mhm.
the kind of the same thing, but the opposite. Just it's been so long and I've been so wanting it. And I think Skylar and Evan are just phenomenal in their roles. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for that one. And I just know that the other one is going to be good. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to be nice. I'm going to like it. But I think the other one could have a little more edge and fun and excitement for me.
All right. Well,
But
we'll
I
see.
don't live in Keister, Minnesota, so
Well,
I
I
live a
don't
little more on
either.
the edge here.
I live in St. Paul. I've lived in
By the
St.
way,
Paul more than I've lived in Keister.
where I do live is 113 degrees today. It
Mm.
it is not October. It is not fall. I am not getting all the fall feels that you're supposed to get.
We were at 90 over the weekend, and now today on October 1st, we slid into the 60s. Woo! Perfect temperature.
We will be sliding into the 80s for an overnight low. All right, we're talking weather. It's time to go.
It's late at night. All right. Bye, everyone.
It was a good time. We'll see you.
Always.